Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Today we have a question from Mark, who says, "Hey Ramsey, let's play a game." Oh, it's not a question, it's a game. Let's see what this is all about. He says, "You have 20 points to build a fighter." You can build fighters? Huh. So he follows with this list of 10 things we can put points into. Wrestling, number 1. 2, boxing. 3, Muay Thai. 4, IQ game plan. Well, hold on, let's break this down. Looks like most of these are essential skills for fighting in general. Number 1, wrestling, up to 5 points. Boxing, up to 5 points. Muay Thai, up to 5 points. IQ game plan, up to 5 points. Chin. Chin. That's cumulative brain damage. It has nothing to do with your actual chin, man. It's how much brain damage you've taken in recent memory. Power, mental warfare, jujitsu, EPO. I have no idea what EPO is. EPO. Is that like a gaming term or something? I'm assuming you're a gamer since you frame this like a game, like it's a video game, like it's a role-playing game. Let's put your skill points into your various attributes and whatever. I've got 7 strength points, 4 agility points, 16 points of dexterity, 12 points of luck. Like it's a Japanese RPG or something like that. This is funny to me. It's interesting that people think of fighting like this. There are a lot of variables in fighting, and I like that you broke it down into various variables, but it's not a tabletop RPG. They don't use like the Fallout special system or the GURPS system or any of those other systems. The D&D system. What do they use for that, man? You RPG nerds out there. Fighting's not a role-playing game. It's definitely not a turn-based role-playing game. But man, the limiting factor is not a cap of points, it is time. So let's go through this list. Wrestling, you need to be a competent wrestler. Okay. Wrestler for the sport of mixed martial arts, which is different, importantly different than wrestling for wrestling. Wrestling for wrestling will carry over to a certain degree, just like boxing for boxing will carry over to MMA to a certain degree, but certainly not everything. And the strategies are importantly different. Same thing with Muay Thai. So you need to excel at all of these skills, but you also need to adapt them to the sport of mixed martial arts. I assume you're talking about MMA because I'm an MMA coach. That's what I do. That's what this channel is all about. So that is the context with which I answer your questions, my friends. IQ and game plan. Ooh, fight IQ and game plan are different things. They're different things. A fight IQ... Excuse me, I burped while talking. You ever do that? Gross. Anyway, fight IQ is essentially being able to analyze the game on the spot as a fighter. It's kinesthetic bodily intelligence is what it is, as it applies to the concept of fighting in real time. So if you have a high fight IQ, you're able to problem solve when somebody is fighting back against you. Game plan, that's a different thing. So if we're giving little attributes here, game plan should be different than IQ. Game plan is generally something your coach comes up with you. Okay? So as far as game plans, we wouldn't be building a fighter. We would be building a coach or a team around us. That's a different thing. Chin, that's a myth. It's a misunderstood concept. Cardio, also a myth. A heavily misunderstood concept. Cardio is mental more than anything. Power, not a myth, but also heavily misunderstood as far as fighting goes. And there are different types of power. Power is the capacity to perform work. What kind of work? There's lots of different types of work that happen in fighting. We talk about punching power, for example. What is the work that is being done with a punch? Well, it is attempting to knock your opponent out. So if your punch is able to knock the other person out, then that is an acceptable level of power. But being able to knock someone out is as much about position, if not more about position, like where you actually hit that person, at what time, what space you actually hit that person, than how much actual energy you put into that strike. Power, the capacity to perform work. What else is the work of fighting? Well, every range of combat has a different job, different tasks, different work to do. There's power in grappling. The capacity to perform the work of grappling. And that's a different thing. So, I assume you mean like striking power. But just understand, power extends far beyond how far you can punch. It's essentially how much work you are able to do. And how efficiently you're able to do that work. Number 8, mental warfare. Mental warfare, man, if you're having a war with yourself and your own mind, that's a problem. So get that checked out by a specialist. Number 9, jiu-jitsu. Again, that's an essential skill. But a lot of that, just like every other combat sport, you got to throw in the garbage. All the grips, for example. I was training jiu-jitsu last night at the gym, doing some really fun de la Riva sweeps and transitions and stuff, which are heavily dependent on gripping the pant leg, which is something you can't do in MMA. So even though these techniques are very fun and useful in the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi, you can't use them in MMA. They simply don't exist in MMA. And EPO, no idea what that means. So, yeah, man. Where do I use my points? I'll tell you where to use your points. Get out there in the real world and train. That's where you use your points. Thanks for watching.